Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is David Nates, and today's topic is how to cultivate your creative genius. It doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur, actor, scientist, dancer, office worker, or even a writer. Literally, it doesn't matter what field you're in. Our society, even though it seems to be rigidly structured in such a way that logic trumps art, without innovation and creativity, our world would be a pretty bland place. We often look at creativity and think of it as something that only a handful of people were gifted with. But what's funny about that is that every single child is extremely creative. It's through our structured world that we slowly become bland and unable to express all the colors that are hidden within our brain. It's kind of like everything in life. It takes practice. Nobody's going to be magically good at something. It takes a lot of work and practice to become good at anything. Think of it this way. Pretty much anything that you look at, from the fork that you use to eat your food, to the toilet paper that you use, well, in the toilet, to the doorknob that you use to open every single door that you use, somebody had to be creative and figure out a way to make a functional invention that would have a specific use. To top it all off, if you look at all of these things, they have designs given to them, not just to make them practical, but also somewhat appealing to the eye so that people are actually drawn to purchasing these products or items. This is why even if you don't regard yourself as creative, by understanding that pretty much every task we perform has some form of creativity in it, we then can start realizing that we're more artistic than we could have ever imagined. If you watch the movie Kung Fu Soccer, the lead actor of the movie, Stephen Chow, takes the example of the word Kung Fu in Chinese. Westerners, when they hear the word, think of martial arts and people fighting each other. But the original meaning of Kung Fu can refer to any discipline or skill achieved through hard work and practice, not necessarily martial arts. So let's stop looking at creativity as something awe-inspiring and magical. In our fast-paced world, there is no room for being mundane. No matter what your task is, finding creativity in your everyday life will not only make your life more interesting, but it'll also open your mind to make your life more successful. That being said, here are 5 tips that will help you build your creative genius. Number 1, we're all left and right-brained. There's a popular myth where people who are more left-brained are analytical, whereas people who are more right-brained are more creative. The way that people determine this is usually by looking at what hand they write with. What's silly about this way of thinking is that there has to be some rational idea included within even the most creative concepts, so believing that ideas come only from one side of the brain doesn't make sense. For example, scientists, who aren't considered as artists in the general term of what an artist is thought of in popular culture, actually has proven to have some of the most creative and analytical people in the world. Think of all the equations, theories, ways of solving unique problems. Well, pretty much any building, cars, bridge, plane, video game, computer, the internet, literally most of what is in our world and everyday society was created through creativity. Scientific ideas are usually spoken verbally, at first taking rational laws of physics, biology, and everything that encompasses our world, and then are proven and executed through math. Roger Sperry conducted a research in the 1960s showing how all humans, depending on what task they are doing, may use more their left side or right side of the brain. Some activities such as special reasoning, appreciation of beauty would stimulate more the left side, whereas analytical thinking or language would stimulate our right hemisphere. But what one must understand is that in order to make these tasks understandable to the brain, we need to use both left and right side of the brain. By doing so, we're able to take on new ways to solving problems. It's what a lot of people call thinking outside the box. Work to build both sides of your brain by doing things that are considered super creative, such as painting or writing, then also do daily activities such as brushing your teeth, doing errands, and maybe use your non-dominant hand for some of those tasks and see what happens. If you're able to open up your eyes in the same way as a child sees the world, then you can start seeing things differently. Try new things and stray away from the mundane. Number 2, keep learning things every day. In order to be creative, we have to be always willing to read and inform oneself on all things happening all over the world. By feeding your mind and willing to be open-minded about new things, we get in a sort of pattern of thinking. It goes back to how children perceive the world. Since they do not have any prejudices and are merely curious, they are able to absorb the whole world as a sponge. As adults, we need to start perceiving the world in the same way. Think of how old people are portrayed in movies where they don't like new music or they're not willing to learn about new technologies. It's not that they can't learn these things or appreciate new types of music that they aren't accustomed to. It's the fact of being in a mindset that says, I've lived my life in this fashion and it's always worked for me. So why should I bother changing what works? It's not because something has worked for years that there aren't better ways of doing things or new things to discover about it. Just seek to be broad-minded and open up to new concepts and ideas. Sometimes it can be the simple act of not really agreeing on a specific topic, but still willing to listen to the person just to understand what their train of thought is. Communication is a two-way street, like the child that keeps on asking why after every question. Be willing to question your whole world and be curious about the things that you don't know. Sometimes I hear people saying that they are bored, but how is that possible when most people haven't visited more than 5% of the world? And also just the simple fact that there are so many different topics and areas to be learned and explored. Another important thing that comes to being curious is having a broad knowledge of a wide variety of fields. Often when I talk to people, I like to talk about a variety of subjects and sometimes come with random knowledge about things. People will often ask me, how'd you know that? Why'd you know that? I simply laugh and say, I guess I like to read. The truth is, I'm a curious bee, which will give me a broad knowledge on different ideas and as a result will give me the base to creating new ideas. Of course, to innovate in specific ideas, you might need to dive much deeper in a specific subject, as usually ideas are expansions of what is currently known. I genuinely believe that genius is in a lot of us. We have just been keeping ourselves closed off to the river of information that our society has given to us through listening, reading books, the internet, and the stream of information that is coming from all corners of the world. Number 3, dream as big as your imagination can handle. The thing about imagination is that it actually takes effort. As children, we used to be able to play and pretend so easily. Heck, making friends was as simple as walking up to another kid and saying, "You want to be friends?" And play would ensue. Young people are super energetic and always discovering new facets of the world, so it's kind of normal that our imagination runs wild as a child. A good practice I like to do on a daily basis is taking walks or simply setting some quiet time for myself to ponder about life, the world, daydream about whatever is prevalent at the moment of my life. Write down your ideas no matter how good or bad they seem at the current moment, but actually taking your time to actively sit and let your brain ponder. By doing so, it cultivates your mind into a mindset of imagination. People often wait for ideas and genius to come, but it takes work to get it out of oneself. Sometimes simply sitting down at a computer or at a blank piece of paper and just starting to write is enough to jumpstart something. Don't be afraid to take breaks too, because often we may end up at a dead end, and just standing up doing something completely different, then coming back to one's desk and working at it again will give us inspiration that wasn't there before. Just be sure that when you do sit at your desk, you take away other distractions. Again, we are so informational based that our phone can ring, we can receive a text message, or we may just want to check our social media. The problem with getting distracted during work moments is that sometimes something that could have been completed effectively in a short amount of time may take hours on end simply because we get distracted. The best approach is to work when you have to work, set enough time to distract yourself by relaxing or doing a completely different activity, and then coming back to your work with a fresh eye. But when you do work, you have to work. Imagination, creativity, and genius are within all of us. Sometimes the world has thrown so many stones in our direction that we forget that we have so much potential within us. Don't be scared to make mistakes and explore. Find the inner child and let your mind wander. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Please be sure to subscribe and hit the like button. I always appreciate comments and will always do my best to answer each and every one of them. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.